I'm gonna start recording for some YouTube content, get a VOD going, and I wish I did it a bit sooner and we got some of the money ones and the other stuff. But if you're watching this on YouTube, you can go back on Kick, and I think the VODs stay up on Kick for a month. So, you know, you should be able to find it for a while. And then we'll just kind of keep going here. You know, showing electric cars from, 100 plus years ago. I think these would have been the 1700s. You know, so it's not new. It's nothing new under the sun. They just, find a way to rebrand it and make more money off it. Low key, I might even go back through some of the money ones. Just because, man, a lot of people are speaking facts, and I want to be able to share some of this stuff,
So when the banks lend money, they actually create new money. And when we create new money, we actually devalue the money supply by inflating it. And when
Which
the
I've
value
been
of the
saying.
money goes down, the value of the resources and the assets go up relative to the money supply.
Which I've been saying for time. I've been saying, like, the more money you print or add to the economy and shit, the less value the money has, right?
It means that the rich people, the people who own most of the resources and assets, automatically get richer, and the poor people, the people living paycheck to paycheck, automatically get poorer. It means they have to borrow even more money from even more banks to afford things like housing or education. Eventually, the poor get so poor that they have to borrow money just to afford basic everyday necessities. It means the poorest people are paying interest on almost everything they buy. Which means the poorer you are, the more expensive everything becomes. Which means in the eyes of the rich, in the eyes of the banks, and perhaps the politicians who are influenced by them, the poorer you are, the more profitable you are. Eventually, fewer and fewer people can afford to buy things like housing, even with a loan, which means there's fewer and fewer people who can afford to own assets and resources that protect and insulate them from the decreased value of the money supply over time. They end up with way more poor people and way fewer but much richer rich people, which means that the longer these people continue to participate or passively wait for these scales to just start tipping in the other direction all by themselves, the worse this problem gets. The scales are designed to keep tipping in this direction, which is why every meaningful metric over the past few decades shows the scales continuing to tip further and further in this direction. This is a system built on overproduction and wasteful consumption, which means these people, the ones producing and consuming everything, are the ones keeping it afloat. These people are feeding these people and keeping them alive, not the other way around. So the question becomes, if you live under a system that continues to devalue your money, which devalues your labor, which devalues your time, which effectively devalues your life. You're living under a structure that systematically steals the value of your life from you. How long do you expectantly wait for these people to have a change of heart and make things better before you decide to just collectively take matters into your own hands?
Right. And it would be so nice if, this is what I was saying before, it would be so nice if people could learn to organize and get together and realize we have a lot more in common than differences. And if we actually use our 99 or 98% collective fucking power against the 1 or 2% and like the ultra rich, whatever, there's a lot more us than of them. In my mind, it doesn't seem that hard, but then you see they do shit like the trucker convoy in Canada, where you can have a peaceful protest, and then the fucking government comes in and just turns off access to your bank account. They just go, oh, now you don't have money, now you can't buy fuel, now you can't like run your trucks, feed your kids, whatever, live basically. So it's like, what's stopping them from doing that more often? Or it just gets to a point where they just turn it off permanently and they go, oh, this is how much money you had, here's your credits or whatever, now go have fun, kind of thing, right? And I will play I'll play this one again, because this guy's talking about, like, kind of how you should think about life, and I respect what he says in this a lot, you know?
At the bedside of maybe thousands of people as they took their last breath. What people say in their final moments is pretty important. They don't mess around. When people are dying in their last words, nobody has ever said, Pastor Rick, bring me my trophies. I want to look at them one more time. Or even bring me my college graduation certificate. I want to look at it one more time. When people are dying and they know their time is short, what they want in the room is not things or trophies or achievement. What they want are the people they love.
You know?
Eventually, we all eventually figure out that it's all about love. It's all about relationships. I just pray you'll figure it out a whole lot sooner. That it's not about achievement. That it's not about fame. That it's not about fortune. That it's not about all the things that you dream of accomplishing in life. Those are great goals.
Those are great.
But Paul says, without love, I am nothing. I am sounding brass and tinkling cymbal. If I have not love, I'm nothing. I have
you know? So, that just goes back to the, like, you know, why can't we see that, you know, we're all made of water, we all bleed the same color, we all have a lot more in common than differences. So why are we fighting with each other, or, like, even the team mentality in sports? Like, why are we focusing so much on shit that doesn't matter and not on shit that truly does, right? Harboring connections, love and growth with your friends, family, community, all of it, man, you know? And fuck the money. This guy's basically saying how, like, if you use cash, it retains more value than if you use credit cards, because the fees that you pay to the credit card companies, you're devaluing the currency even more, which is what Magnus was saying. Or, here, I just want to say, like, shout out Bro's account. This guy is super smart, has a lot of great takes. I highly suggest following him. What else here? And then we can kind of go through again. I do want to rewatch
We are straight
this.
cooked with these Chinese EVs. You see this American-looking fella right here? That is Ford CEO Jim Farley. We just discovered a story from a few months ago when he and Ford's CFO traveled over to China to test out some of the electric car competition. And to put it lightly, they're worried. Ford actually has a decent foothold in China. So Farley and CFO John Lawler flew over to China to test out some cars from Chang'an Auto, a Chinese car brand that Ford is thinking about doing business with. The quotes we have from these two about when they went on this trip are worrisome. Lawler said to Farley, "This is nothing like before. These guys are way ahead of us," referring to how advanced not only the car is, but also their manufacturing strategy. These cars are better and way cheaper than any of the Ford EVs. Then later, Farley reportedly told a Ford board member that these Chinese EVs are an existential threat. This might help you understand why Ford, being one of the big three Detroit automakers, is desperately lobbying to keep these Chinese EVs off our shores.
So, cheaper cars, I guess cheaper to make, probably better quality than Ford shit at this point. Like, with how much money you're paying, you're not really getting that much quality for them. And then they're trying to lobby against it, because if you buy Chinese stuff, it puts money in their economy instead of the North American one, right? But it's like, I was saying this before I started recording for the bod. Why can't Ford look at that and kind of use their manufacturing strategies, or like try to mirror what they're doing in a sense, and not, like, I don't know, it feels like everything's so competitive and so like, oh fuck those guys, they're doing better than us, or they're, you know, their economy's better, their EVs are better, whatever it is. But it's like, okay, why can't we have some sort of like partnership? Why can't we have some sort of trade? Or why can't they like help us with our development of that stuff? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, then it makes the products better for North America, gives money to, you know, other countries, But then it still makes money in North America because then you're selling them on the land, on North American soil. You don't have to transport them overseas, so it's less money in shipping and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, harbor the growth and the friendships instead of just like putting up walls and keeping the borders strong. You know what I mean? Like, obviously I'm not saying open the borders, let everyone in, but in a sense of like, they're just lines in the sand. They're just lines that we say, oh, this is where it ends, this is where it starts, whatever. But it's like, we're all on one planet. We don't need one fucking organized government, but you know what I'm saying. I also found this one pretty interesting, the origins of hockey and where it came from and how much of history just gets fucking covered up and erased, basically, You
thought that the puck was the only thing black in hockey. But guess what I got for you? Show us Colored Hockey League, please. We need to show this.
It says here the Colored Hockey League was hockey's first organized league in 1895.
1895, black African Canadians created hockey. Show the photos.
Before the NHL, right?
Images. There's a book called Black Ice that this white dude wrote. Yeah. And it's the history that they hid in Canada. Black history. Black hockey players in the 1800s. Crazy. And they never said shit. And it was in Nova Scotia. Yeah. Nova Scotia. Now, Nova Scotia, after the war, they had Africaville. Canadians created in Africaville.
That we did talk about in school. I wonder if we talked about the origins of hockey in school. If I had a history teacher that kind of knew about it. I remember talking about Africaville, but I don't necessarily remember if we talked about the origins of hockey, right? But he keeps going.
They don't have it anymore. They got rid of, they pushed Africans out because, a lot of people come out of Nova Scotia. Now, the first black hockey player that went to the NHL, to the Boston Bruins, was from Nova Scotia. His name was Willie O'Ree. Okay. Show Willie O'Ree real quick. Willie O'Ree was the first black player in hockey from Nova Scotia.
So probably in the NHL.
The same area that they discovered, black people discovered hockey, created hockey. Now, The Rock's father is from Nova Scotia. Was the first famous black wrestler, the Soul Patrol. Yes. From Nova Scotia. You thought that hockey.
So it's like, it's interesting connections with The Rock and that his dad is from Nova Scotia and all that, but it's like, damn, man, I wonder like just how much just basic everyday shit gets covered up. And like, I even had this theory about Mount Rushmore, because I have a video in here. I can scroll down a ways and try and find it, but I seen a video of Native Americans and how they're almost finishing this sculpture that they're building in the side of a mountain. It's a Native American leader. You see his face and his upper torso and an arm. They got a whole piece for an arm and a finger pointing out. But I was thinking, I was like, damn, what if Mount Rushmore was Native American leaders, and then the founding fathers came over it and changed it to be them, but you don't see them doing anything like that since then, right? You see like their little statues, the bust they have in the parks and all that shit. Abe Lincoln's a pretty big statue, but he's not carved into the side of the fucking mountain. So it's like Native Americans are doing this thing, and I doubt they're going, oh, let's copy the white people. You know what I mean? It goes back to the story that same guy was telling in this other video about how where was I going with that? God damn it. Well, I guess how much of history gets covered up, but then he was talking about like how much influence black people, like African Americans, I guess, have over culture, and how all other cultures look at them and copy them for their style, for their like music, whatever it is. But it's like, does that not make sense that the white people would do the same thing with the Native American type shit? You know what I mean? What else we got? I think this one's pretty good and worth rewatching.
But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the...
And it's ironic because this is almost literally talking about like what I'm doing right now, or what we're doing right now as a society with social media and all that shit. It's kind of funny, honestly. Like
World
how
now
accurate
may
it
very
is.
well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money.
Okay, so first, self-perpetuating brainwashing. You know what I mean?
Perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a
Watching the
world
posts and
totalitarian
scrolling.
government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks, and it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no. See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, just a few days ago, I met this man whom I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot. And when I was at Findhorn, I met this extraordinary English tree expert who had devoted his life to saving trees. Just got back from Washington, lobbying to save the redwoods. He's 84 years old. He always travels with a backpack because he never knows where he's going to be tomorrow. And when I met him at Findhorn, he said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "New York." He said, "New York, yes, that's a very interesting place. Do you know a lot of New Yorkers who keep talking about the fact that they want to leave but never do?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "Why do you think they don't leave?" I gave him different banal theories. He said, "Oh, I don't think it's that way at all." He said, "I think that New York is the new model for the new concentration camp, where the camp has been built
Or
by the
prison.
inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia, where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made, or to even see it as a prison." And then he went into his pocket and he took out a seed for a tree and he said, "This is a pine tree." He put it in my hand and he said, "Escape before it's too late." See, actually for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. And we really should feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s represented the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished. And that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now. That from now on, there'll simply be all these robots walking.
1 sec. My bad stream. 1 sec.